Welcome back. In the previous lecture, we understood what asynchronous code means. We realized that a synchronous operation essentially consists of three parts. The first part is a very short function that takes almost no time to complete and initiates some asynchronous operation. Then there's a waiting period for that process to complete. Usually, this process relies on external resources that are out of our control, like waiting for a server response, or waiting for user input, or waiting for a timer. Basically, anything that doesn't require code execution. Just time passing until the process is done. During this time, we leave the thread free. We do this by having the initial function register a callback that will be triggered once the operation is complete, and then instantaneously finishing. So the third part is the callback. This callback receives the result of the operation. It is automatically executed once the operation finishes. So for example, if it's a server request, the callback will receive the server's response. If it's waiting for user input, like entering text and pressing OK, then the callback will receive that string. Asynchronous operations often produce some value, and we receive that value in the callback, and we can respond to it. As we mentioned, writing code using callbacks can become very complicated and messy. That's why promises were created, and what we're going to do now is we're going to understand what a promise is and how it fits into this whole asynchronous story. So first, let's break a common myth. The myth is that a promise runs code in the background. This is not true. A promise doesn't run any code at all. It's just a simple object that sits in memory and holds data. It doesn't do anything by itself. It just keeps track of what's going on. A promise is a tool that allows us to keep track of asynchronous operations so we can know their status and their results. Imagine a promise as an object in memory with two properties. The first property tells us the status. Is it currently in progress? Or has it resolved successfully? Or has it rejected with an error? The second property in memory is the result of the asynchronous operation, which depends on the status. If it's in progress, then the result field doesn't exist yet. If it's resolved successfully, that field holds the result of the asynchronous operation. For example, the response from a server. And if it's rejected, then the result is actually an error, some description of why it failed. So a promise is simply an object that holds data, nothing more than that. There's actually an interesting way to imagine a promise. You can think of it like a mailbox. A mailbox that you use to manage a delivery. Let's say you ordered a product and it takes a long time to arrive. The promise is like the mailbox where your delivery will be placed. Now, this mailbox has two sides. One side is for the producer, who will place the package inside the mailbox once it's ready. The other side is for you, the consumer, who will pick it up from the mailbox. The mailbox serves as a place for the producer to put the value once the process is complete. If the delivery isn't ready yet, then the mailbox will be empty. If the delivery is complete, your package will be inside the mailbox. And if the delivery fails, you might find a note explaining why the delivery didn't arrive. For you, as the consumer, this mailbox is how you check the status of the delivery. You can look at the mailbox, see if the delivery has arrived, and if there's something waiting inside, you can take it out. That's exactly the idea of a promise. A promise is a kind of object that mediates between the asynchronous operation, the producer, and you, the consumer of that asynchronous operation. So let's say you're writing a function that needs to run an asynchronous operation and return a result. That function must return immediately. That's the modern rule in JavaScript. Functions must finish running in 0 time. Now, let's say you're running a function that needs to get the data from the server, and it takes 20 seconds for the data to arrive. And let's say the data is a number. Your function cannot wait 20 seconds because that would block the thread. Instead, it must finish immediately. So what does the function return in that case? If it could wait 20 seconds, it would return a number. But since it can't wait, it returns a promise of a number. It creates a new promise and returns that promise. Once the server process is done, the promise will be updated with the final value. This way, you can use the promise to know when the data is ready, and then you can access that number. And that's exactly how promises work. So asynchronous functions are functions that instead of returning the final result directly, give you that mailbox of the result. They create a new mailbox or a new promise and return it to you instantly. But there's a catch, and the catch is this. All the data that promise holds, both the status and the result, all of these are private and cannot be accessed directly. So how does it work? How do you get the data? And actually, why was it implemented that way? What's the logic behind that? So that's what we'll talk about in the next video.